Hi, I'm Kelly Ellison, and welcome to my home in Phoenix, Arizona. Having grown up in Louisiana, food has always been an important part of our lives. Whether it was for a holiday, a birthday, a special occasion, it always revolved around the food that was going to be prepared and then shared between friends and family. One of those dishes that stands out the most to me is macaroni and cheese. My grandmother always prepared this very simple mac and cheese, which was absolutely delicious. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do a spin on that mac and cheese, and we're going to kick it up a notch. And we're going to have cheesy, creamy, smoky mac and cheese with pancetta. So let's get started. So the first step to this mac and cheese is let's go ahead and get our pasta started. I brought a pot of water to a boil. I added pasta. I used a pound of medium-sized shells. You can use any pasta you like. Salt the water, and I did add a little bit of olive oil to keep the pasta from sticking once it's done and we've drained the water. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some pancetta. This is 5 ounces here. The great thing about it is you can use more if you'd like. You can use an applewood smoked bacon, really whatever you have in your market. These are just so convenient because they're chopped and ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is fry off our pancetta, render that fat, and then take the pancetta out. We're going to actually use the fat from the pancetta to help make our roux with a little bit of extra butter. So what we've done now is we've just finished frying off our pancetta. We've removed that from the pan. Now what we need to do is make our roux. So what you're looking for is equal parts fat to equal parts flour. Like I said earlier, we're going to keep the fat in from the pancetta, which is going to add so much flavor to the mac and cheese. And we're also going to add a little bit of butter. You can't go wrong with pancetta and butter in the same dish. So we're looking for equal parts here, so we kind of have to eyeball it. I would say I have about 1.5 tablespoons of the pancetta grease in the pan. So I need to add 2.5 more tablespoons of butter. So once our butter melts, we're going to add the flour and start our roux. Basically what we're doing is a blonde roux. We don't need to darken this roux as if we were making a gumbo or a darker gravy, a brown gravy. We just really need to have a thickening agent in our cream sauce. So we're just going to go ahead and work on the roux here. We'll add 4 tablespoons of flour, cook that off for a little bit to get that floury, starchy taste gone, and then from there we'll add our milk. So our roux is ready to go. So what we need to do now is start by slowly adding 4 cups of milk. We want to go a little at a time and whisk it in to make sure we don't form clumps in our sauce. So we'll just work this in a little bit at a time. Once we get a good consistency, then we can really pour the rest of the milk in and we'll get going on thickening our sauce. Our sauce is ready to add all of these wonderful types of cheeses. The first thing we're going to add is 4 ounces of Velveeta, and then for the star of this show, 4 ounces of the Philadelphia cream cheese. That cream cheese is going to give it such a great consistency. It's going to be so creamy and so rich, just like mac and cheese should be. Now that our Philadelphia cream cheese and our Velveeta has melted beautifully into the sauce, we're going to go ahead and add the rest of the cheese. So what we have here is we have 1.5 cups of smoked cheddar. So when I said smoky mac and cheese, that's where that smokiness is going to come from. We also have 1 cup of Monterey Jack, which is going to add to the creaminess of the cheese. That cheese just melts so nicely. We have 1 cup of just an aged white cheddar. We have 1/2 cup of Gruyere and 1/2 cup of Asiago. So I'm not playing around when I said a cheesy, creamy mac and cheese. Once this is all melted down, we're just going to add a little bit of our spices here. Salt and pepper to taste. I recommend to do that at the very end. I like to kick it up a little bit with a little cayenne pepper. So we're going to take and sprinkle a little bit of cayenne pepper in here. Of course, you guys, if you don't like spice, you don't have to use it. We like spice, so we're going to kick it up a little bit. I have 1 teaspoon of onion powder and 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. So we're going to go ahead and get that stirred in. Oh my goodness, I wish you guys could smell this, and I wish you could really see what was going on here. It's just a pot of heavenly cheesiness. Looks delicious. So once we have that mixed up, we're going to just melt this down really nicely. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. A little bit of salt. So this is looking great. I think we are pretty much ready to add our pancetta back in and get things rolling here. So we're going to go ahead and just toss our pancetta back in. Give that a stir, let that go for a few minutes. This looks great. I think it's time we add our macaroni. All right, so I have our pound of pasta here. We're going to just mix it right into our cheese sauce. Give that a great stir. Make sure everything's mixed very well. And make sure that cheese fills up into those shells so every bite is a little bit of heaven there. Once we have that mixed together, we're simply going to pour it into a casserole dish. You can use a 9x13 dish. I have just a nice decorative dish that's a little deeper than that, so that works well. Or you could even serve it up in little ramekins or little casserole dishes that you may have for individual servings. So any of them will work the same way. I would recommend just go ahead and spraying a little non-stick cooking spray on there so you don't lose any of that goodness sticking to the sides of your pan. All right, so we are ready to go. So we're just going to take this and dump this right in. Look how amazing that is. I really wish you guys could smell this. It smells so smoky and so cheesy. Oh, it looks so delicious. So now for the topping. I've taken 4 slices of just a country white bread. I've taken the crust off and I've actually torn them into little bite-sized pieces. I've melted 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to just pour that right over. I'm going to sprinkle a little salt and a little pepper just to give the top a little bit of flavor. Once that's nice and stirred, we're going to sprinkle a little bit of cheese because we don't have enough cheese already. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of cheese on the top of the mac and cheese. And again, I'm just using some of our smoked cheddar, and then we'll put the topping. But there's one crucial part I forgot. Sorry guys, I have to do this. I have to taste it. I can't ever serve it without tasting it. Oh my goodness, that is so good. You get the smokiness of the cheddar, the creaminess of the Philadelphia cream cheese, and then a little surprise of pancetta just jumping out saying, here I am. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now we'll just sprinkle the rest of the cheese right on top. We don't need a lot. This was just a half a cup that I reserved from when I grated the original 2 cups of white cheddar. Don't be afraid to just get in here with your hands. It's really the best way to do it. Perfect, so we're almost good here. Now once we get this in the oven, we're going to want to keep an eye on it. We're going to want to cook it for about 30 minutes, but you're going to want to watch the topping that it doesn't brown too quickly or too dark on you. So you can put it in, you can do 2 ways. You can put it in with a piece of foil on top and cook it for about 15 minutes and then remove the foil, or you could do it opposite. You could put it in just like this, bake it for a few minutes. As you see it's starting to get a little brown, then you can put the foil on top. That's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven. Again, it's a preheated 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. We're going to check it about halfway through to make sure our topping is doing great. Mac and cheese out of the oven. It looks and smells divine. We're going to let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, let that sauce thicken up a little bit. I'm just chopping some fresh parsley to put on top. It's going to add a great pop of color, but it's also going to add just a little bit of freshness. So here it is. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. Just going to take and sprinkle a little fresh parsley right on top to just liven it up a little bit. Oh gosh, this looks so good. I don't know where to start. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that creamy, cheesy goodness. It's so hot, I can see the steam coming off of it. Perfect. Absolutely delicious. It is so creamy and so rich, just like mac and cheese should be. So here it is. Creamy, cheesy, smoked mac and cheese. There's really nothing like it. Once you taste it, you'll never go back to the regular mac and cheese. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sorry, but I've got some work to do here. Have a great day.